us have it.
This is week 2 of the My Giants presentation. Next slide. Okay, here the Giants won 4 times and lost 4 times. And then the last one that says postponed means it was raining on that game. And the Giants were outscored 34-35 against all the other teams. Next slide.
We're taking in the math here for a second. You guys see what he means by the total? Yeah. You add up all the points scored in all the games. Then the Giants scored 34 points, and all their opponents combined scored 35, which is pretty even. They've only got outscored overall by 1. But they won 4 games and lost 4 games. And it looks like they had one game there where they really did not get to the one game I'm talking about? 4-0. 4-0, okay. Then they had one really high-scoring game up there. Okay, Alex, next slide coming up. Here it is.
And here are the best hitting scores. And then on the bottom, the totals of all the players added together. And I couldn't really figure out the batting averages and the on-base percentage. Next.
I guess you have to average out the players' averages.
Yeah.
So you know what you could do, Alex, is you could add up those averages, like add up decimals.
Yeah.
And then divide it by the number of players. So if you add up the 6 players' batting averages in a gigantic stack and pack problem, you can just divide by 6. You probably need a calculator for these divisions. But you don't have to do it now or anything. I was just letting you know.
Next slide.
Okay. Alex, do you want to do questions? Does anybody want to ask a question on this slide while we're here? All right, why don't we limit it to like maybe 2 questions per slide, and then if there's any we didn't get to, we'll come back at the end. Okay? All right, Sam, come on. Start.
What are the like at the end of those on base percent? What does it mean by that? Like 0.477.
Did you hear that, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay.
That means like if it was 0.300 and he had 10 at-bats, he would have been on base 3 of those 10 at-bats. I think that's what it means.
Yeah. It means out of every time they get an at-bat, how many times they actually get to first base or more. Sometimes they get there by getting blocked. Sometimes they get there by getting hit by a pitch. So you can get on base without necessarily getting a hit. That's why sometimes it's a little different. Okay, Alex, Jeff, did you have a question?
Yeah. What is the batting average mean? And about both of those, where are they in decimals?
Alex?
They're in decimals because if they had like say 10 at-bats, the decimal means that they would have, if they hit every 10 if they hit the ball in all 10 at-bats, it would be 1.000. And for the batting average means that if it was 2.200, he would hit it 2 out of the 10 at-bats.
I think they actually do it more like this. They start with the number of hits, right? They divide by the number of at-bats. So if you got a hit every single time you got a turn, you'd have a perfect batting average. 1.0. But if you got, say, 5 hits, right? I'm doing it on the board right now, Alex.
Yeah.
5 hits, if you have 10 opportunities to hit, 10 at-bats, then what's 5 divided by 10? It's less than 1, right? so cool that it's like division because it's what we were just doing. It was 3 hits and you got 10 at bats. See, it's always going to be less than 1. It's going to be 0 something, right? It'll actually be about this. Because often when you do the division on a calculator, it doesn't come out really perfect. I do that one I just did. If I actually type in 3, sorry, I need solar power here. No, sorry, 3 divided by 10 is 0.3. They added on. What if I had 4? Like 4 divided by 10? 0.4, you're right. Okay, what if I had... Well, let's say they got another turn. They got another at bat, but they still didn't get a hit that time?
0.4.
Okay. You really think so? 3 divided by 11? Okay, that's... I don't use the lights going on. That's 0.272727. So they just right off to 0.2727. So this is really going to round off to a 3. So a person who has a 273 batting average, that's how you say it. So the higher that number is, the more often you're hitting. Which is why you almost never see anybody. Batting averages in the 300s are really good. That means about a third of the time you're getting a hit. Nobody hits all the time, right? They say that. No. Sometimes early in the season when there's only been 1 game. Like, yeah, Neil's saying when Buster Posey started, his very first at bat, and ever in his life, he got a hit. So on that day, in his career, only, yeah, perfect timing. 1 out of 1, but then later it became 1 out of 2, and then 2 out of 4. Okay, Alex, I'm gonna let you resume then, and we'll get to you guys at the end. Go ahead, Alex. Next slide.
And here are the 6 best pitchers so far. Last week.
Questions for Alex on this one? Ruben?
What does ERA mean?
Earned run average. It's the average runs they let in a game.
So while the pitcher's pitching, how many runs are scored against him per game on average? The lower the better, exactly.
But he only scored himself in
It's only 1 more game.
Yeah, you should be able to say it.
But how come?
Another question, Robbie? Ask Alex, make it nice and loud. You want to ask Alex?
But how come there's 5 games and he played 5 games and there's only 3 wins and 0 losses?
That's a good question. You want to get that one, Alex?
That's because it's a no decision. Wait, what is no decision?
It's a tough one to explain. I'm not even sure I can explain that one.
It's when he got out of the game and they didn't have a lead. They took it too much.
Glenn, if you're there and you want to give it a shot, we'd appreciate it.
It can happen. Say when in this example, when Tim Lincecum, he had 5 games with only 3 wins. Probably 2 of those games, he came out of the game while they didn't have a lead, and they may have lost the game after he pitched. In other words, there was a relief pitcher or the closer that allowed runs that affected the game in a way that the starting pitcher had no control over it.
So the pitcher gets the win. It's sort of that pitcher's fault that they won. So if Lincecum is in the game and the Giants are winning, say 10-8, and the game's not over and he comes out before the game's over and they put a different pitcher in, and the Giants go on to still win that game, then they say that it was Lincecum's win. But if the Giants are winning, like, say, 10-8, and Lincecum goes out, and the relief pitcher comes in, and then the other team scores like a bunch of runs, and the Giants lose the game, it's not, the loss isn't blamed on Lincecum. The loss goes to the pitcher that came in and didn't pitch well enough for that game. That's sort of how they say it, right? Now, if the Giants were losing 2-8 and Lincecum goes out and the Giants go on and still that game, then Lincecum gets the loss. Even if, well, no, that may be more complicated than I can explain. But that's the basic idea, is that they try to say whether they can really say that he's responsible for the thing or responsible for the loss. There's some complicated little bits to it. So. Hey, Xander, do you have a question? Okay. All right, Alex, ready for the next slide?
Yeah.
All right, I'm clicking the button. Here you go.
These are the outfielders, and the one that says Andres Torres, that's him and my dad at Legoland.
Tell us that story.
My family, we went down to San Diego to see the Giants play, and we went to Legoland before one of the games, and we were lucky to see Andres Torres with his son.
How old's his son?
I'm not sure.
Is he like your age or younger?
He's younger than us, I think.
Ben, question?
Is he younger than Matthew?
Yeah.
Any more questions on that about the outfielders? You've had one. I don't see if anybody else wants to ask. Bobby, you've had one. Anybody want to ask about the outfielders? Because you guys were asking about this last week. Yeah, got a question for us?
Why does it say, like, lead terminal for Cody Ross, or is that just random?
Because those people, they're playing right field, and Andres Torres, Darren Ford, and Aaron Rowan, they're playing center field.
But did you put Nate Shearholtz above Cody Ross for a reason, or is it just...
No, they're both pretty much like the main right fielders, so I couldn't fit it.
Okay. Next slide.
Yeah.
Next slide.
And here, these are the rankings. The Phillies by a sports writer. This is a sports writer opinion. Sports writer's opinion. And he put the Phillies the best in the National League. And then the Giants and so on.
So he thinks we're going to have a pretty good season?
Yeah.
All right. Is there more? Another slide?
Yep. And this is Aubrey Puff's player profile. And the slots that are highlighted means that it's his career best in that category.
You might need to tell a few people what all the little abbreviations stand for.
The G stands for games, and the AB stands for at-bats, and the R stands for runs, and the H stands for hits, and the 2B stands for doubles, and the 3B stands for triples, and the HR stands for home runs, and the RBI stands for runs batted in, and the BB stands for walks, and the SO stands for strikeouts, and the AVG stands for average, and the OBP stands for on-base percentage.
And the AVG, that's batting average, right?
Yeah.
So, you guys, in his entire career, how many games has Aubrey Huff played? Let's see if you can read the stats that Alex has set up. Anna? In his entire career, how many games has he played? So we help her out, and then we're getting into the answer also. Chelsea? In his entire career, Anna, you see it? So let's see if you get it, Anna. How many at-bats has Aubrey Huff had in his entire career? Go, Anna. That's a lot of turns swinging the bat, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
How many home runs did Aubrey Huff hit in the regular season last year? Okay, Samantha B. 157?
No. That's a game.
That's games. So home runs. How many home runs did he hit in the regular season last year? 26. How many strikeouts during 2011 spring training? Neil. 1. That's not bad. Wait, nope, that's not the one. Okay, then you're getting angry. All right, Alex, I think we got it. You want to do some more? You get another slide?
Yeah.
Wait, Ben has a question for you on this slide.
That Aubrey Huff's best was 91 strikeouts. On his spring training, he said that he only got 5 strikeouts.
Because spring training is he's had way less at bats and way less games.
Oh, that's it. Oh,
And I
sorry.
think they're comparing it to his numbers on other whole seasons.
Yeah.
All right, going on. Upcoming games. Next slide.
And these are the upcoming games for next week, and the bottom 3, they are all expedition games, which means that they're not regular season games or spring training games, but they're sort of practice games, I guess.
Why? Wait,
Yes. How many you get to ask?
why do they have to put it 3 times in a row?
Because I don't really know.
Because they're close by.
I guess because they're close by.
It's a pretty popular matchup to get the Giants and the A's to play each other. Their neighboring team. I don't know if that's the reason, but
I'm gonna go.
also a question.
What team is the one that has it's a red dude with a stick coming out of his head?
Those are the Indians.
It's supposed to be a feather.
It is? Yeah, it just gone away.
Alex, what is that?
The Cleveland Indians.
All right, and last slide, right?
Yeah.
Any other questions for Alex? Especially people who haven't asked them. And I think we can do something with that. Okay, Tanner, go ahead. Well, it's a question. Ask it. This is your shot. Lucas?
Are the games that didn't say where they were? For the games the upcoming games that is. Sorry. Oh, I think I know why.
I couldn't really hear you.
Are the upcoming games that you showed ones that didn't tell where they were? What was the reason why you didn't do that? Was it because they're far away, or?
Because they're all in Arizona,
Oh.
and then they're just coming back, so
Spring training.
for spring training.
I can wait to the end
This
because
is your shot. Take it if you want.
did he? I want the accent to get something from
Ask
the
him.
Crib accent. Okay. Did you get the phone finger?
Yeah.
I sent it.
Nice giant phone finger. All right, Robbie, last question. Nice and loud because you got to hear you.
Aren't the Giants having good spring training camp?
Yeah, right now they're leading the whole MLB.
That's not bad. I don't know.
I don't know what the means.
Major League
Oh.
Baseball.
How do
All right, you guys want to give him a little love here? So I noticed one thing about Alex. Last week you guys asked he would ask you about the outfield. Did you do that?
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't
And then
know.
I think you asked him to tell you a little about some of the players, and he did that too with Aubrey Huff. So I think that's pretty cool that Alex really worked hard to get back to you the things that you wanted to know.
Thanks, Alex.
And I thought maybe,
Thank you.
yeah. Is there anything that you would like him to find out for his next update? Wait, Alex, we got a birthday.
Yo, Alex. Yo.
Julia. Everybody, Julia.
Hey, let her rip. Go.
Happy
Right back down. Let's go right back into it. Sam, we're gonna go right back into the function. You got something? I'm curious if anybody wants to ask Alex anything that they wanted to find out from next week.
I couldn't hear you. Could you say it again?
Can you find Buster Posey's player profile?
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you find the Panda's profile?
Yeah.
Can you find like all of their preseason, like the preseason record?
Like the spring training record?
Yeah.
The Giants?
Yeah.
Like if they're 18-9 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you find out who's their best player?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's tough with baseball because people play different positions and they all contribute to the team. So you might have a really good hitter, really good hitter, you know? Okay. You guys
Sit.
wanna say bye?
Wait for him. Come back.
Okay. Now, Alex, you're about to see something. You're about to see something very amazing. Watch this. You are about to see a whole bunch of fourth graders going back and working on their math. Watch what this looks like. What do you think? Do they look good?
Yeah.